So today on HPTV, we have a very, very, very special guest, a guy that I hold close to my heart, a mentor, a brother, somebody that early on in my basketball career over at Mount San Antonio College, this man would show up, he would posterize us, he would block every shot that came through the lane. He gave it to us, but he gave it to us with a smile, and afterwards he'd put his arm around us and tell us what it's really all about. And what I take from this man is how to show up in life with a good attitude at all times, but most importantly, to lead with that good attitude. So Pete, my brother, great to have you here on the set.
Man, it's all love, man. It's nothing love, bro.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So I wanted to have you on because you've been through all the ranks in your athletic career, and I wanted to kind of just start back into your growing up. Tell your story a little bit. How did you grow up and then we'll talk about your childhood and early on in the sports and what led you towards basketball, and then we'll talk about some college and beyond.
Well, for me, I think I would go back to probably when I was in the second grade, and my mother was dating this guy by the name of Ed Lindsay, who me and my two brothers, we adored this man. And he actually put a basketball court on top of our garage, and I think we might have been the only kids in the neighborhood that have a basketball court in the garage. And it was a nice one too.
Uh-huh.
And I would actually go out there and play 1-on-1, 2-on-2 by myself. Many times I was, being a Laker fan, I was always Jerry West and Gil Goodrich playing against Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe of the New York Knicks, and I was real imaginative. West has the ball, pass it over to Goodrich. I have to run over there and catch the ball.
Yeah.
Goodrich, look, he gives it back to West. And
Yeah.
So I was real imaginative with that.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't get a chance to play in any formal basketball leagues until I was in the sixth grade.
Okay.
And that's when at Luders Park in Compton,
Mm-hmm.
just a typical recreation league or whatever. Didn't play in the seventh grade because we were supposed to be moving, which we never did. Then played in the eighth grade. And going to ninth grade, we left Compton and moved to Walnut, which was to my culture shock. That was on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I bet.
And then going into Gallus as a freshman, I was only 5'8" when I was a freshman. But I was tough, had a lot of tenacity, but it's 5'8". And it put me on the JV team initially. And I played on a JV team, but I was never really happy because I wanted to go back down to the freshman guys. So then they were talking a little junk about what they doing or whatever. Meanwhile, I'm up. And see, when I was a freshman, juniors and seniors, they looked like grown men to me,
Yeah.
which was a reflection of how small I was and how big they were and everything.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to get back down with the freshmen.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if I whined a lot. I don't know. But anyway, they made a decision to put me back down to the freshman. And all those freshmen that was talking that noise, it was a wrap. It was over after that and everything.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of dominated the freshman thing. Moved up to varsity as a sophomore. Didn't play a heck of a whole lot or whatever. But my junior year, I was eighth man in the rotation. My junior year, I was only 6'1" at that time. I went from 5'8"
Really?
to 5'10" as a sophomore, 6'1" as a junior. And my senior year, it just clicked. I grew 3 more inches, got to 6'4", and obviously had the best season in the Gallus basketball history, finishing 29-1, losing in the semifinals to Blair High School at the Sports Arena. But my senior year was it was an incredible journey. And I look at myself really as one of those overachievers who just never gave up.
Uh-huh.
If you look at where I was my junior year and what I developed into my senior year, it really is quite remarkable. Now, granted, those 3 extra inches did help,
Yeah.
but it was I went from being the 8th man in the rotation my junior year to first team All Valley, first team All CIF my senior year. And that was a year playing with Cecil Fielder. Cecil, a baseball player.
Yeah.
To this day, Cecil's one of the greatest basketball players I ever played with in my life.
Really? Is that right?
Cecil was special. Cecil was incredible. Cecil was so good, you can get caught up watching him go.
Really?
And you look at him, you wouldn't think it, but let me tell you.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is coming from a man that I like to watch go.
Yeah.
So if he's liking to watch Cecil do it.
Cecil was incredible.
Wow,
he
cool.
was really special. But it's a great year for us. Out in Nogales, I had a couple of Division II offers going out of high school. I had Cal Poly Pomona, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. You're familiar, Coach Victor. You played for me as well. Mount Sac was a great junior college program. Only 4 miles from my house. And I knew, back then Mount Sac was beautiful. Before all the construction with all the concrete, just the hills and grass.
Gorgeous.
Just it's a beautiful campus now, but to me it was even more beautiful back then. 4 miles from the house, But I wasn't gonna go to Mount Sac because I didn't want to play for Coach Victor. I was terrified of the man based on everything I was hearing from everybody.
Okay.
So I made a deal. I was gonna go to Citrus. I'm not quite sure how I was gonna get to Citrus because you know how far Citrus is from Walnut, but that's where I was gonna go. They got me a great summer job. I worked at this place called the Clam Digger over in Covina, and it was just a great situation. But what happened was Mount Sac started a week before Citrus.
Okay.
My friends from high school, they keep coming to the house. Dude, you got to go check out Mount Sac. You got to go. It's this and that. And I still had some of the current players calling me every so often. You know, you need to go check it out. And so I said, I'm gonna go check it out for myself and stop listening to all the negative things I heard from other people. And I knew, first of all, I knew Mount Sac had a better program. I knew it at that time. Went and talked to Coach Victor. Made a decision. This is where I need to be. It's in my area. It's 4 miles from home. So one of the toughest decisions I ever had to do, one of the toughest things I ever had to do was call Coach Edwards at Citrus and let him know that I changed my mind and I was going to Mount Sac. And this man was nothing but the epitome of class. You know, he said he totally understood. He wished me luck. He said, you're going to have a great career over there, which was, it really took a load off my mind because I really, really had a lot of respect for the man. You know, and there was nothing shady or underhanded. I was running away from something that I knew was good for me for the wrong reasons. And, you know, peeling everything back, you know, I made a man decision and did something that I knew was right for me. And went to Mount Sac and had 2 great years over there. And it was, you know, we all played. We know how special that place is. And the brotherhood that we all established over there and stuff. It's just, it was an amazing journey from then on. From there going to the University of Arizona, to playing with the Denver Nuggets, to spending 11 years in Europe. It's been an incredible journey, man.
Yeah, it has. I can see that. And you know, you talk about those transitions in high school and going from, you know, freshman to varsity and being a sophomore and going up through the ranks and then finally getting your senior year going. What was the driving force behind you to have this type of just determination? Because that doesn't come with not everybody has that type of fire to really go get it for themselves. It's hard to find. Well,
you look at me now and you may find it hard to believe that I was actually ever undersized. I was pretty much undersized at every stop I went to.
Okay.
You know, very thin. You know, even at 5'10" as a sophomore, that's still pretty small. You know, 5'10" and you're only like this big.
Yeah.
And taking a step further, 6'1". When I was 6'1", I had classmates in the junior class with me that were like 6'4", 210, 215.
Yeah, man child.
Like, man, come on, for real? You know, as I said earlier, when I was a freshman, the junior and seniors looked like grown men to me.
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of weird. So I always kind of wonder how there's like incoming freshmen now, how do they view upperclassmen? Because to me, for the most part, they all look the same now, you know, but back then it was different. But I just had a work ethic in me that I wasn't gonna quit. You know, I wasn't gonna be punked. I knew because of the size differential with the size and the weight that I had to really push myself and work hard to have any chance to survive. And that carried on even when I got to Arizona. You know, Arizona, I was 6'7", 190, and was forced to play center because we had 6'9" and 6'10", both freshmen who really couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I had to play center by default. And the one thing I was not going to do, I was not going to embarrass myself, particularly playing for Coach Olsen. And prior to every game, when he puts the opponent's starting lineup on the wall, the first thing I'm focused on is the center. And I don't know how many times 6'9", 240, 6'10", there were 7-footers in there. And the only way, I didn't want to get thrown around like a rag doll. The only way I could survive, I had to get out there and compete and do what I do best, ripping and running, you know, try to tire them out and everything, because you can play all the great defense you want, but when you got 6'10", 240 leaning on you and you 6'7", 190, that can really wear you out. But it served me well. That competitive nature that I developed early on really served me well as I moved on throughout my career.
We have a very similar story in that, you know, I grew up very small. In my freshman year, basketball wasn't even on my radar in high school until I come back my sophomore year in the 6'2" range, where I was the smallest guy in my class my freshman year, getting my butt kicked on the football field. So I got this height. Did the same thing. I was out in the driveway, developed little mini courts in my room, and I was Magic Johnson dissing to Byron Scott and throwing it off the garage and developing a game in my own mind. You know, that's where it started. And then I got into the camps at the high school, and then got a little bit older, junior, senior year, got into where now I'm actually my athleticism's coming out in my height a little bit because that awkward growing stage. And I started, seeing some growth. But what it was that, like we had to fight. We had to, and I was, 6'5" at the time, soaking wet at 190, getting thrown around it and not having anything to say about it because I'm just getting tossed. But again, going into college ranks, I ended up being one of those guys that ended up having to guard some of the bigger guys at times. And it comes from within. It's your competitiveness, it's your craftiness, it's your willingness to not look stupid out there and to get in it.
And then for me also, I never had access or the opportunity to go to any of the camps and things that went on back then. It's nowhere near as prevalent as it is now. But back then there were things like ARC and all these other little things that were going on, Slam and Jam, these things going on. I never had the opportunity to participate in those, mainly just didn't have access to means to get there and everything. So I would hear, certain things about other players or whatever, and honestly didn't feel I matched up because I never had the opportunity to play with them or anything like that. And they were getting, the pub and this and that. Not that I deserved it at that time because I was nowhere on anybody's map, but it would have been nice to at least be out there to get an idea how you matched up. And so even coming out of high school, when I look at, and no disrespect, I look at some of the players that UCLA signed coming out of in 81, like the Nigel McGills, the Gary Melansons, the Brad Wright, those type of guys. Prior to that, year or two before, Stuart Gray, Ralph Jackson, those type of guys. Nowhere in my imagination did I ever think I could be on those guys' level coming out of high school. I mean, everybody knew who they were coming out of high school. Nobody knew who I was. I barely knew who I was.
Right. Yeah.
Nowhere did I ever think I would be on their level, but it just goes to show you how time and development, what can happen. 2 years later, I come out of JC. Now I'm 6'7". I'm still only 190. At least I got the 6'7" going with me and stuff like that. And so there was still a little trepidation on my part. Okay, how am I going to match up with these guys at UCLA? Kenny Fields, was going into his senior UCLA. And Kenny Fields was a bad dude, man. Yeah. And actually being on the court with these guys. So there was still that little nervous energy of not know. It's one thing to do what you do in the JUCO, but then when you go to this other level. So, but then
what was it at that level to where you finally, what was that defining moment said, you know what, Pete, I belong here?
I think, now, before the season started, we would always do our scrimmages and things like that. Even prior to practice starting, where the coaches couldn't watch us. Yeah. When we would practice or whatever, and Coach Olson would always ask how so and so doing, how's this one doing, and one reports he always got about me. Well, Pete is grabbing every rebound that comes in sight and stuff like that. It's one thing doing that against your teammates, okay, but then we played Athletes in Action in the exhibition game prior to the season started. And I played pretty well. These are guys who've already been through the college ranks. Some may have dipped over in Europe, played professionally, and I played pretty well against them. Yeah. My first official game against Northern Arizona. It's just Northern Arizona, but I had 31 in the first game against Northern Arizona. Okay, I might be okay. But then I think when I had success against Cal State Fullerton when they had Ozell Jones, Hoppy, and he was 6'10", just chiseled, incredible athlete. Had success against them. Had 17 points, 14 rebounds. Nice game. But the biggest one, I think, early on is when we went to Providence and had to play against Otis Thorpe. Okay. Now, this dude was scary. Like, oh, my God. You talking about Mr. Atlas or whatever. I mean, he like 6'9", 6'10", just muscles coming out of his ear. And, come on, man. He could probably blow on me when I would fall over. But I played pretty well. So, okay, I belong. And then with Coach Olson, the respect I have for him and the way he pushed and pushed and pushed, he was the type of guy where he didn't believe in moral victories. Okay. He didn't believe in we'll be okay because we kept it close. He was all about winning and competing. That's why I have so much respect for him. He's never afraid to play anybody, anywhere, and he just pushed and pushed and pushed. And he took me to a level that I didn't know I even had. I always believe I worked hard, but I didn't know what hard work was until I played for him. Because the respect I have for him, for everything he did in the past, I mean, his presence alone just really gets you jacked up. And the main thing, I didn't want him to think he made a mistake by bringing me in. So I had that extra drive to prove to everyone else, but particularly him, that I did belong at this level. So I give him all the credit for taking me to a whole nother level. Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's great to have great mentors, great coaches. I mean, that kind of leads me into my next question, transition. I mean, we're going to
let's talk a little bit first about the pro game. What that transition was like, because you said you played for the Denver Nuggets, so you went from Mount Sac over to Arizona, had success there, and then did you get drafted straight to the NBA out of Arizona? Is that what it was?
Yeah, and back then the draft was 7 rounds.
Okay.
I was a 4th round pick, and the later you're drafted, your chances are making it even slim. And see, back then there was only 24 teams in the league. You didn't have the 30 teams now. You didn't have like a 12-man active roster, 3-man inactive where you got 3 dudes sitting in suits. It was just 12 or bust is what it was. So I actually went in with not even really expecting to make it. All right, let me just go out here and play or whatever. I survived the rookie free agent camp. Then they bring me back to veterans camp, and I survived that, and I make the team. But the weird thing is, the day when they were telling us made the team, we were sitting in a hotel right across the street from McNichols Arena, and they called me to come over. And prior to that phone, so when they told me to come over, I had called Coach Birdsong, our assistant in Arizona, rest in peace, Coach Birdsong. And I told Coach Birdsong, hey, I might be back in Tucson today or tomorrow. They're getting ready to let us know, and I don't think I made or whatever. Weird. I was actually jacked up about being cut, man. I was weird back then. So I run over to McNichols Arena, is all excited about I'm about to be cut, so I can go back to Tucson and just kick it.
Take the pressure off.
Yeah.
Man. Take the pressure off.
When our director of player personnel, Pete Babcock, when he told me that I made the team, my whole expression just kind of changed or whatever. So I kind of had to regroup, to let them know, well, don't get the impression I'm disappointed. I'm not happy to be here. I am kind of disappointed that I'm taking somebody else's spot, And he's like, well, that's one of the things we really like about you, this and that. So it was tough for me because I honestly didn't feel I belonged.
Okay.
I really didn't.
That's a big part of being.
Yeah, and it really is.
Yeah.
But they believed in me, and I started having success. The very first game I started was like the 6th or 7th game of the year. I had 13 rebounds against the Dallas Mavericks or whatever. Nice. The next day, flying home to LA and actually starting against the Lakers in like game 8. Lakers in game 8 or 9 because I was starting forward Calvin Nat. He was injured, so when Calvin was ever injured, I was starting his place and stuff like that. But still, even though I had some really successful moments, I never really felt that I arrived because I was still 6'7", maybe like 195 at that point. And now you're playing you're playing against men. And I still remember even doing that summer league when we played in the they called it the Midwest Rocky Review. It was us, Dallas, Houston, and Utah. I ran into a pick by Wallace Bryant, a big 7-footer, went to the University of San Francisco, but he had been in the league several years at a time. A blind pick, never saw it coming. And I hit him, and my body hurt for like 2 weeks, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is different.
Yeah.
These are grown men right here, and I'm just a little 6'7", 195 at that point. And so I tried to muster up all the competitiveness I had to survive. But I had a great group of veterans. Alex English took me under my wing, just encouraged me to keep working and stuff like that. We had the nicest team you could ever imagine, from number 1 on down number 12. Just a great bunch of guys, guys that I credit for helping me be a professional and teaching me some things. So when I became a veteran over in Europe, I tried to use that same thing to teach the young people coming up and everything. So it was a heck of an experience. I still just wish I was physically more ready. Now, I got that way in Europe, and Larry can attest to this. We really got into the weights more. I never put on a lot of weight, but I became even more strong. I've always been referred to as he has that wiry strength or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we got to the point where we were so comfortable in Europe, it would have been nice to try to come back to the league to see where I stood, because once I was fully comfortable with my body, then I kind of felt there was nothing I could do at that point.
Man, what a journey. And then so now off to Europe, and you spent quite a few years there and made a big impact in that league. I mean, this was a league that I don't know. I mean, you'll tell me more, but it's something that has grown over the years to be something really special over there.
Incredible.
And I believe, if I'm right, Turkey was kind of the foundation of that, where you guys were. That was one of the hottest programs, and still remains pretty very competitive, isn't it?
Not in the beginning, because pretty much back then it was Italy, Spain, Greece. Those were like the main ones. France, in the mix a little, but mainly Italy and Spain and Greece. And Turkey was trying. He was trying to climb, and I think Larry, when you get a chance to talk to Larry, because Larry was on one of the first teams over there that really had success on an international level. By that I
Okay.
mean the European Cups and stuff like that. It wasn't until my maybe seventh, eighth year where I started having some European success as far as a team. I started really playing on some really strong teams that could really get out and compete in Europe. And now it's just on a whole nother level. There's so much respect for basketball in Turkey. And the great thing about it, Larry and I just went to Turkey 2 months ago. It's the first time for me in 20 years, first time for him about 23, 24 years. And the reception we got back there, Gary,
To
is
this
just,
day.
it's over 20-something years have passed, and they just treat us like unbelievably well. Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
I tell people I haven't blessed so much in my life, just the reception. I knew that it would be nice, but it was far and beyond anything I could imagine the way we were treated out there.
That's incredible, man. That's incredible. I love hearing that. So a couple more topics I want to talk to you about. One being relating sports, specifically basketball, what you learned of that to life and to business and to raising a family and how that looks and how important that role and that experience of these 20 years or so of your life that was dedicated to basketball. Often people think, basketball is a sport and a ways of mean of keeping my kids active, or, it's just something to have fun with, or any type of sport for that matter. I have firm beliefs that my foundation in life now comes from my athletic career. Tell me about your experience with that.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And again, first and foremost, I give so much that credit to Coach Olson, one, for elevating my work ethic. I always had a work ethic, but elevating it. We're basketball players, we can use that, but any sport, I think, really has so many benefits that you can use once you step away from the game and apply it to life. The ability to work with people, particularly work with people of different races and nationalities and stuff like that. It teaches you to work as a team. I work on probation now. I've been working on probation for over almost 15 and a half years, almost 16 years. And I remember when I first started, when we were doing our training and all that, they were telling us a lot of times some of the biggest issues you're not going to have is not going to be so much your probationers, but the actual people you work with. And I've seen it firsthand, as far as, staff, talking about this staff when they're not here and stuff like that. And I was always uncomfortable with that, where I was feeling like the middleman. Okay, let me try to say something clever to change the subject or something like that and stuff like that. But it's just an amazing opportunity that serves you well in the future as far as teamwork.
Yeah.
One thing sports, and you can't really relate this to anything else, those emotions. That's what the emotions you go through of, you think about your career, some of the thrilling victories you had, that raw emotion, you can't really translate that to just a regular, working job.
Right.
Or by the same token, those emotions you have by a heartbreaking loss, where it's just you and your group, only you guys can relate to that. But still, these are all valuable tools that, leads you, okay, what am I going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? So again, it's something that elevates your work ethic. We have to communicate better. We have to be on the same page, as a team. And these
verbally
are things,
and just being able to look at each other. It's a different level.
And these are things that I try to apply to what I do now. All of my coworkers are on my same level. Those are my teammates.
Yeah.
The probationers that we supervise, I look at them as our players. Our supervisors, I look at them as our coaches. Their supervisors, I look at them as our owners. So I always, some type of way, I always try to revert it back to the sports scene and stuff like that, because there's just so many lessons that can be learned that, in my opinion, are so valuable when you go out in the working world. I never had a difficult time with the transition at all. Now, I know a lot of times when athletes retire, there is a transition that's really difficult. I jumped right in and didn't miss a beat because I was so grounded and fortunate enough to play for the people that I played for. My head was always screwed on straight. I never felt the need to try to big time anybody. Oh, that's not my job. I'm not too big to do. Anything that needs to be done, I'm gonna do it. And that's the same way it was on the basketball court. And I just transferred that to the working field.
Incredible. And I see it because I implement it in my life and in my family's life. I mean, sports, that team environment, like you said, the roller coaster of emotions. I remember, all of us in the room hugging together in
Yeah.
triumph and like having that just like, oh, we did it, to being right there to make it to that next game, and then all of a sudden it's all gone, it's done, and being just completely crushed. But what I've learned is that those are moments that we can carry with us forever, that we could draw upon in any moments of our life, in triumph and in difficult times. I've been through a lot of those things, and I've had to draw from a lot of those memories, and because these are extensions of our family. These are brothers. I mean, I look at you as a brother. Although we never played on the same team together, we've always been on the same team in our hearts and in our minds, because we've got that culture.
And we got that Mount Sac family.
We got that Mount Sac family, and it shows true every time we all show up together, man. It's fantastic. You touched on a couple things, and I really want to get into something that I feel is hot right now, that is something that is very, very relevant in the world right now, and something that's getting just magnified by every social media outlet, and that's racism. We talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to ask you, obviously being a black man growing up in the 70s and the 80s, it was a different culture and a different environment than we have now. A different makeup, with the exposure that we are to, with everything that's at our hand, to people shouting out words that are not appropriate, and then what's going on now in the world with the bullying and talk to me about like your upbringing through the ranks, what you felt as a young black man trying to make it in this world, in this country.
Okay, well, growing up in LA and Compton, I didn't feel nothing. it was all good, everybody was the same, there was nothing. But like I said, in the summer of '77, we left Compton and moved to Walnut, and it was culture shock. Going into Gallows High School, were not very many black students there my freshman year, maybe not even my sophomore year, but particularly the freshman year. Being in class, I still remember being in history class, and when they start talking about slavery, I'm 14 years old, and you feel like all eyes are on you. I can't break it down about slavery. I'm trying to learn, but everybody's like looking at me like I'm supposed to have the answers and stuff like that. So that was uncomfortable then, As time went on, my high school experience was absolutely beautiful.
Awesome.
But there were times where, I know my junior and senior year, about 3 or 4 of us, we could be walking out of Stater Brothers. And Gary, I can't tell you how many times things like this have happened where all of a sudden we're stopped in a parking lot. Why? Oh, we matched the description of something. And so it would be even more magnified if it happened now. But this is we're going back to like 1980 and 81, stuff like that. And we were just frustrated, nothing you could really do, no social media. Like, this is just ridiculous. Why every time we come out here, we getting stopped? It's always we match the description. Well, was it 4 this time? Was it 3 that time? But I think one of the most disappointing ones was for me when my friends and I, we were walking to my home. And it was a good little walk, but we're in my neighborhood now, maybe 3 or 4 blocks from the house. And it was at night, and cops pulled us over, and asked, but it's one thing, it's bad enough to do it, number one, but when you're doing it with an attitude too, real arrogant, what are you guys doing over here? Where you guys going? Well, I just live a couple of blocks, over this way or whatever. But really, harassing my friends. What's your name? My name's Butch. Oh, you look like a Butch. Just little things like that. And so I know one of my other little friends, he started getting a little attitude or whatever. And I remember it was 2 cops, a male and a female. And then she said something, oh, you think you're pretty tough with your friends. Oh my God, Kevin Sweeney said, I'm even tougher without them, so he made light of the situation. But that's the worst it got for me at that time. We dealt with it. Going to the U of A, nothing at Mount Sac, beautiful, everything, no issues at Mount Sac whatsoever. Going to the U of A in Tucson, 83 and 84, there were times we'd be walking down Speedway, car would drive by, hey, N-words, and drive by, and, we just stand there, just looking stupid because, there's nothing you could do about it. But it's just different now. I think it's, for a while, it seemed like it was covert for a while. Now it's just out there. And one of the things for me is that I really try to stay away from race, religion, and politics, because those are some really, really, really sensitive things.
Yes.
And one of the things that frustrates me is when these people put all this stuff out there on social media and stuff like that. You'll never ever see me put any type of racial, religion, or one of those type of things on social media.
Yeah.
But it just drives me crazy, and I just got to look at, okay, that's their thing. And there are times I want to respond, so I'm not even gonna. And it's been tough. There are times I got the fingers ready, and I just stay away from it. Even whatever your political views are, or whatever, okay, that's fine. But do you have to, disrespect somebody else to get your point and stuff like that? Those are your views, leave it there. But don't use it to attack somebody else. And it goes both sides,
Yeah, for sure.
And I like to say I'm like that Chris Rock thing, I'm conservative about some things, but then I'm liberal about some things too. I don't try to define myself in one group or the other, And I just hate where we're at this point now where it's just so much negativity to the point where a headline, for an article, real controversial stuff like that, I don't even want to deal with it. I don't even want to read it. And you made a point earlier when you talked about a lot of times when racism is put out there that's false. That's one of the most disappointing things because when that happens and it's exposed, and when it is exposed, all it does is put a dent on all those other cases that are actually legitimate that nobody's really going to take the time to find out what to deal with because it's probably the same thing as this garbage right here and stuff like that. So it's sad, where we are right now. I'm not, trying to point blame this and that or whatever.
Right.
I live by a simple code. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And one of the things that I explain to my kids, when you walk outside that house, you're not representing yourself. You're representing this family. And I put a lot of weight and a lot of meaning behind my last name. You're representative of us. Go out there and just do the right thing. It's so easy to do the right thing, And that's one of the things I even talk about with some of the probationers I deal with. And they have a hard time grasping because their whole lives has been turmoil, this and that or whatever. But it's so easy for me to say, but I just wish more people could embrace it. It's so easy to do the right thing and just treat others the way you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. I don't see, race and this and that. I just see a person who treats me well. I'm going to treat them the same way.
Amen.
If they give me a little negative, then I'm going to come back at you with some negative, but it's not because of the color of your skin. It's going to be the way you disrespect me. I'm going to bring it right back at you.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm with you on that. I'm colorblind for real, and I'm colorblind in life. You've always known that. I love everybody, no matter what skin they have, no matter how, if they're a man or a woman or whatever. Like this is all love, and I think that the world right now where we stand, unfortunately, is being casted this big shadow of hate and divide by media outlets. When in reality we actually have more love thriving. Mm-hmm. And my point in bringing this up, Pete, is just to get your perspective on how things were then, and kind of it sounds like really nothing has changed. It's just the exposure of it and the type of exposure that it's getting.
Absolutely.
Because if we flip the coin and say, look at all the love between these races across this country, we're winning, Pete. And I feel like every time we turn a corner and we show that we're winning and we have this togetherness and our cultures coming together and America's coming together or whatever that looks like, I feel like there's something that needs to be casted over us through social media outlets that just reminds us that there is ugly and there is hate out there in this world, and like you said, we want to try and divert our attention from that. So we need to try and eliminate this bigotry and advocate for that and try and come up with solutions. But I feel like what has happened in media is that we're constantly driving home the problems. And you and I, we're trying to figure out how we can share more solutions in this world.
We talked earlier about everybody's just so sensitive about everything. There are sometimes some legitimate things that are just funny. It's just funny, but to me, like when you're a comedian, you get up there a lot of times, comedians, they may go off on a different, race, this and that, whatever. Even when they saying something about black folks, if it's funny, I'm going to laugh. And that's all, it's just being funny. But, but that's a whole different spectrum right there.
True.
Those are jokes meant to be funny, to entertain and laugh.
Yes.
But when it's personal and it's meant to hurt and demean, that's a whole nother story.
There's no room for that.
But I only want those to be brought to the forefront if they're legitimate.
Yeah.
If they're legitimate, go after them with full force,
Right, Pete. I mean, there just is no room for racism in this world. I'm so over it. I'm so over the divide. Like, can we just get along? Can we just come together? Social media was created for that platform, to bring us together, to bring together family and friends and keep us in contact. And I feel like media outlets or different propagandas and different channels and different organizations that have these agendas are using it now to divide us and to amplify the nasty in the world, when actually the love is prevailing and the good is prevailing. And I'm just really really looking to change that. And that's what this is all about. And so I want to thank you, and I want to thank you for being a mentor in my life. I want to thank you for everything that you've done in my life to help me see the real love in the world through our friendship. So, I'll turn it over to you for a few minutes. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Other than just you and your story and your strength. I mean, so much respect for you. Number one, I still got that vision, that beautiful jumper. This dude had a jumper, y'all. That thing was beautiful. But your perseverance, your strength, it's something that I admire a great deal. And
bro.
we always gonna be brothers. Mount Sac for life, Sac Dogs, all that good stuff, man. And, I wish you the best. And, I'm always gonna be able to support you. Anything you need, you let me know, and I'm here for you, G, man. That's
I appreciate you, bro. I really do. It's all love, brother. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being part of my life, being a mentor, and for coming in and doing what you did throughout the years at Mount Sac when I was just a young boy trying to figure things out. You were a guy that did it. You had been there. You've been through the ranks. You became a pro. You had a very successful career. And you've always been very humble, and you've always been a guy that would come around and share your life experiences to help us through ours. And so that's what this show is all about, is to share life experiences to help you through yours. I don't know what you're going through, but maybe you have a kid, maybe you're an aspiring athlete yourself, and you are going through high school and you're undersized, and you see these other bigger athletes that are thriving and kicking butt out on the field. But I want you to know that it's what's inside that drives you. It's what's inside that can make the difference. And if you're a coachable, hardworking person on any type of team, you'll always find a way to succeed. So no matter if you're undersized or not, no matter if you got the odds against you or not, keep swinging the stick. Keep showing up in the gym. Keep trying to sharpen that saw and create a better future for yourself. You are in control of your destiny. There are things that you can do every single day to better yourself and to get yourself in position to thrive in life. And that is just work hard, be a good person, and like my man P said, do unto others what you'd like to be done to you. All right? Have a great day, folks. Thanks for joining HPTV. We'll see you next week on another episode.